There are moments in history when power stops listening to the law, to morality, even to God. And this is one of those moments. In recent days, Donald Trump attacked Pope Leo, telling him to focus on being a great pope and not a politician. But what Trump calls politics is, in truth, the very heart of the gospel. Because the Pope has not called for war, he has called for peace. He has not called for dominance, he has called for reconciliation. Matthew 5:9 says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." And the church has never been silent on this. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, CCC 2304, states, "Peace is not merely the absence of war, it is the work of justice and the effect of charity." This is what the Pope is defending, not politics, but peace rooted in justice. And I stand with the Pope in this matter. But let's speak plainly. Trump has repeatedly projected himself as a man of peace, even as a Messiah. He's boasted of ending 8 wars, even referencing his nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize. And when he did not get recognized, what happened? What followed was not humility, but escalation. Conflict with Iran, threats against multiple nations, even against NATO allies, warnings that entire civilizations could be destroyed. Is this the conduct of a head of state, of a peacemaker? And now we must confront something far more serious, which is the international law. You see, the United Nations Charter, Article 2, Chapter 4, it says that no state has the right to force against another, to use force against another sovereign nation. Under Article 51, force is permitted only in self-defense, in response to an actual or imminent attack. In this case with Iran, there was no such imminent threat established, no Security Council authorization, which means the attack stands outside the framework of international law. It is an illegal war. And the church speaks to this as well. The CCC 2309, it clearly speaks on the conditions of war. Namely, the damage inflicted by the aggressor must be lasting, grave, and certain. All other means must have been shown to be impractical. There must be serious prospects of success, and the use of arms must not produce evils greater than the evil eliminated. These are not mere suggestions, these are moral conditions, and when these are not met, war is never justified. Under the Geneva Conventions, it clearly states that civilians must be protected. Infrastructure essential to life cannot be targeted indiscriminately. And under the Roman Statute of the International Criminal Court, launching a war without legal justification is a crime of aggression. So what happens when a leader ignores all of this? When law is bypassed? When morality is dismissed? When justification replaces accountability? Again, the church, CCC 2312, gives us the answer. It says the church and human reason both assert permanent validity of the moral law during armed conflict. Actions deliberately contrary to the law of nations are crimes. This is not option. This is doctrine. So when a leader acts outside the law, outside moral teaching, outside of accountability, he does not stand under authority, but instead he becomes a law unto himself. And scripture warns us of this. Woe to those who make unjust laws. Isaiah 10:1. Justice, justice shall you pursue, Deuteronomy 16:20. Trump says that the Pope should remain silent. Trump says that the Pope should not involve himself in such matters. But popes have always done exactly that. Pope John the 23rd intervened during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Pope John Paul stood against authoritarian regimes and helped shape the end of the Cold War. Pope Francis helped restore diplomatic ties between nations. And they were not acting as politicians, they were acting as a conscience of the world. And as a Christian, this is where the distinction becomes clear. But popes have never been silent, because silence in the face of war is not neutrality, it is complicity. And as a Christian, this is where the line is clear. Faith is not about aligning with power, it is about aligning with the truth. Christ did not glorify power, he challenged it. So when a leader, a bully like Donald Trump, claims greatness but leaves behind war, instability, and suffering, we must ask, is this leadership? Isn't he a war criminal? Or is this the abomination of law, of morality, and of God himself? Because when a man becomes a law unto himself, he does not just defy the world, he defies the moral order that governs it. And when that happens, history does not remember him as great, it remembers the cost. So, dear friends, I stand with the Holy Father that peace must prevail and war must end. Shalom.